Hi guys, it's Bella and welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a video where I picked my 15 top reads of 2024 and I'm going to go through why they were my favorites. I would consider all of these books to be 6-star reads for me, so here are my 6-star reads of 2024. If you guys watched my 2024 wrap-up, you would know that I read a total of 253 books. So picking my favorites was quite challenging, but we did it, so let's just start this video and go through my favorite reads of last year. If you guys like book content, definitely subscribe to my channel and give this video a big thumbs up, and let's just get right into it. Starting off strong, we have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. And if you guys are unfamiliar, this is like a spin-off series based on Shadow and Bone. Shadow and Bone was also made into a Netflix series and it features the characters from this book. It just tells a different story. I have a funny history with this book because it's actually not even funny. I tried to read it back in April, and right after I finished Shadow of Bone, I immediately started this series because everyone always talks about this series, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. So I started with Shadow and Bone. Did not like that series. Like, I really struggled through it. I could not get into it, and so when I picked this up, I went into it with a negative mindset, thinking I wasn't gonna like it because I didn't like Shadow and Bone. I struggled so hard. I think I read like maybe 2 pages a day for a few days, and then I tried to pick it up like a few weeks later and I read maybe 5 pages, and I don't know, I think I made it to maybe 100 pages in and I was like, I'm never gonna read this book. Like, screw this book. So I put it down, and then I decided to watch the show back in October, and then I got to see what these characters looked like and I got to see their dynamic, and I was like, wait. So I picked this book back up and it literally became one of my favorite reads of the year. Like, I think about this book and these characters all the time. This is my second attempt at reading this book and I loved it, okay? I absolutely loved it. It follows 6 different characters with extremely different backgrounds, and they're hired for like a once-in-a-lifetime mission for a lot of money, and it's to break into this place that is nearly impenetrable. Like, it is an impossible mission, but if they can pull it off, they'll get the biggest payday they've ever had. That is incredibly high stakes. Like, I was stressed the entire time reading this book because of how high stakes these moments were. They're all very morally gray characters with a intense found family trope, so if you like found family, you'll love this book. I love the main character, Kaz. I mean, I would say they're all main characters, but Kaz, you know, you know. And then it left off on a crazy cliffhanger, which made it even more enjoyable. And I just think about these characters all the time. They're living up here in my mind rent-free still to this day. So Six of Crows was definitely one of my favorite books of last year. Next, we have Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. And I am kind of surprised I even put romances in this video because I don't love romance. Like, I like it, I think it's fun, I read a decent amount of it, but when I think of like god tier 6-star series, I do not think of romances. But this one, for some reason, it like totally shifted my mindset when it comes to romance reading, because this one like made me so giddy. I was giggling, kicking my feet. I loved it. I was literally smiling while reading it. I was like, wait, okay, I get it. It's a small town cowboy romance. This is the 3rd book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series, and it is just so fun. And I didn't like the other books as much as I liked this one, I think. It's sister's best friend trope. So friend's best friend, you know, best friend sister, that kind of vibe. I love this book. This was one that I knew I was gonna like just because the cover is so cute. It's The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood, and this is the most fun, cheesy, just happy romance I've ever read. It gives me Good Place vibes so much. Our main character dies right at the beginning and she's given a chance to go back down to earth, and if she can get who she believes is her soulmate to kiss her by a certain day, then she can stay on earth, and if she fails her mission, then she is dead for good. Like, she's dead. It is just the most fun book and just quirky, and I love this book so much. Just gonna wait for this plane to fly by. Okay, then we have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, and it's so funny when I look back at my notes for this book, all I have is she is the best main character ever and I'm giggling and kicking my feet. So if that doesn't explain it, I don't know what will. This is just a super fun read, you know, fun summer romance. They think they're only going to be together for the summer. It's where our main 2 characters think they're cursed. Like, anytime they get broken up with or break up with someone, their ex always ends up finding their soulmate right after, and they just think they're totally cursed. So they decide to date in hopes that when they both break up, that they'll both go to find their forever person, and you know how that goes. So such a fun book, definitely 6-star read, and I actually annotated a little bit, which I never do. A Christmas book in my top reads of the year was not what I was expecting. How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn is so good. It is so fun. It's basically a town that stays Christmas themed all year round. The town is literally called Kringle, and our main character goes to visit Kringle because that's where her aunt lives, and her aunt recently fell. She's having some health issues, and so her and her sister decide to go back to Kringle to take care of her, and they enter her in the Christmas extravaganza competition that happens every Christmas time in this town. The contest involves hot chocolate making, candy cane making, house decorating, Christmas gift wrapping, so many fun things. And our male lead does not appreciate the fact that this girl is just coming here temporarily and entering this competition, so he also enters just to spite her and to beat her. This book has some of the most good enemies to lovers and banter that I've like ever read about. Like, you actually believe these characters hate each other. It's not even like, oh, he's so cute and he's so annoying because he's so cute. It's like, no, I actually hate him and screw him and I'm going to beat him in this contest. I loved this book. I had the best time reading this, and she just announced a second one that follows one of the characters in this series, so I'm very excited to go back to Kringle. Okay, we have Tangled Up in You by Christina Lauren, and this is like a modern Tangled retelling where our main character has been super sheltered her entire life, and her parents don't want her to go out, they don't want her to have social media, but they accept for her to go to school like a certain amount of times a week. It's like very, very strict. And she ends up finding out that her parents are not her birth parents, and so she goes on a road trip with a guy from the school who's like the popular guy to see if she can find who her real parents are and uncover like the truth of her life. And it's literally Tangled in modern times to a T. So if you like Tangled, you'll love this book. We have Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and this is one of my most recent 5-star, 6-star reads. Basically about two guys in college that are working on their thesis, and they decide to experiment, and because they believe that if you have a near-death experience, when you survive it, you will have extraordinary powers. Like, you'll literally, like, if you almost die and survive, you will wake up with powers. And they perform these experiments and they both wake up with powers, and it kind of goes back and forth between them in school and then them 10 years later. And one of them believes that what they did was wrong and he wants to kill everyone that's had near-death experiences, and the other one wants to kill that guy because he's killing everyone. So it's them kind of going after each other even though they used to be best friends in college. And this is so fun. Like, all the characters in this book I loved. I loved all the characters in this book. I loved all the intense scenes. I just love the idea behind it, and I love superhero movies. I'm a huge nerd, and so I ate this book up. And this is a duology. This is my favorite read, I think, of the entire year. It's My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, and this is actually the only book she's ever wrote, which is crazy. This is a really intense book. I definitely recommend reading trigger warnings if you want to read it. It follows two timelines. One is when this girl is in school, and the other timeline is when she's much older. And when she's in school, she develops a relationship with one of her professors or teachers. And it's about the grooming and abuse that she kind of goes through when she's young, but she doesn't see it that way because she's in love with her teacher. Then it's her later in life as an adult still reflecting on her relationship with this guy when she was young, how she feels about it as an adult, and how messed up she is from this relationship that she still believes it was totally normal. And I think this is one of the most best written books I've ever read. I still think about this book every day, and I remember finishing it and saying to my mom, I was like, I'm going to think about this book every day. Like, I just have a feeling this is going to stick with me, and it really has. So this was my #1 book I read in 2024. I definitely recommend reading it just based off of the writing alone. I thought it was incredible. Daisy Jones and the Six! I can't even believe I read this last year because I read it at the beginning of the year, and I feel like I've just read this. I've just known this book my whole life. Like, I just feel like this is part of me. It follows a make-believe band, but I believe this band is real. Like, she wrote this, it's too good. Like, Daisy Jones and the Six does exist, but it follows this band and their rise to fame and what they went through, and their relationships they go through, but it's written interview style. So you can kind of see briefly the whole book is written like that, and so it literally just feels like you're reading an interview. And so I flew through this book, and the show is so good. The casting I was a little on, but it's okay. This book was so good, and I still think about this all the time. Literally one of the best books I've ever read. We have One Dark Window, which is the first book in a duology. It's called The Shepherd King, I believe is, yeah, The Shepherd King is the series, but One Dark Window seriously is so good. She has a monster that lives inside of her mind that she communicates with. She calls him the Nightmare, and he's always been in there. The magic system in this book is so unique. There's all these playing cards, and they're all these different magic abilities, and I can't even explain it. It's so good, and this is one of the most unique magic systems I've just ever read about, so I had a blast reading this. This was a super unique story. Unfortunately, I did not like the second book in this series at all. I think I gave it 3 stars, but this first one, I ate this up. Zodiac Academy. I love the series with my whole heart, okay? I love it. Shadow Princess is my favorite book in the series, I think. I don't know what it is about this book, but this was my favorite one. I remember finishing it being like, oh, this is gonna go down in history as one of my favorite reads. And if you've read this series, I think you understand. Like, there is just something different about this book, and it's so good. We have Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh, okay? Honestly, I think all the books, all 5 books she's written are 5 stars for me, but I wanted to just talk about this one because that's what started it all. Binding 13 follows a girl named Shannon, and she is shy, she's small, she's fairly innocent, and she has had an incredibly hard life, okay? Her home life is terrible, and you read about it. And she ends up meeting this guy named Johnny Kavanaugh. He's like the star rugby player, and he kind of, you know, didn't want to be in a relationship. He was really focused on his rugby career. He's about to go pro after school, and then he meets Shannon, and she just flips his life around, okay? And they become really close, and he helps her through everything going on in her life. And I can't really say more than that. You really just need to read it, but I cried so many times reading this book. It just breaks your heart, and I definitely recommend the series. You know, this is a really loved series for a reason. We have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is such a fun one, also really heartbreaking. It's about a girl named Addie who is cursed. She makes a deal, and she thinks she's been given a gift, but she ends up then realizing it's a curse where she will be immortal and live forever, but she is invisible, and whenever she meets someone, no one will remember her. So she lives hundreds of years where no one recognizes her, and the second they turn their back on her and turn back to her, they have forgotten who she is. And it is really sad reading this book because of how lonely she is, and you go through different, you know, you go through the most of the time that she lives this life, and you see where she is during each year and what she's going through, and a lot of historical events are happening around her, and then one day she meets someone that remembers her, and it goes from there. And this book is so freaking good. The Book of Azriel by Amber B. Nicole. This is the first book in, I think there's 3 books out right now, and the 4th one comes out this year. It's the Gods and Monsters series. I remember when I read this, I finished it, and I was like, oh girl, fantasy is back. Romantasy is freaking back. This book starts off with a bang right away. I mean, it is action from the first page to the last page. I don't think there was literally any downtime in this book. Like, it was go, go, go. We're in this action and we're staying in it. There were lots of twists and turns in this book with a lot of high stakes moments, and there was a super slow burn romance, so you know we ate that up, and there was a little bit of spice, but it all felt very necessary. Like, there was never too much where you're like, okay, where's the plot? Like, it was very plot driven with the necessary amount of romance and spice, and it left off on a crazy cliffhanger. And I remember finishing it and being like, oh yeah, we're just so back. Okay, we're so back. So definitely recommend this series if you're looking for a really good romantasy series. Last book The 15th best book I read, 6-star series for 2024 is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I think it's really rare for me to find a thriller series that shocks me so much. I felt that way with Silent Patient. When I read Silent Patient, I was like, oh, I'm like actually so shocked to my core. I did not see this coming. And that's how I felt with this book. I still think this is probably the best thriller I've ever read and probably my second favorite book of last year. It's where a couple has kind of been having marital issues and then they actually win a weekend away to Scotland and they think it's going to be their chance to fix their issues. And then another thing is every anniversary when they exchange gifts, the wife writes the husband a letter, but she never let him read them until now. And another thing is our main character, Adam, the male, the husband, has face blindness and he can't even recognize his own wife, and that is very interesting. Basically, I wrote that there were literally never-ending twists and turns that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting any of them. And the book goes back and forth between current time, them in Scotland navigating this house, and it's in a snowstorm in the middle of nowhere. And it goes back to each year on their anniversary when the wife wrote the husband a letter. There's so many secrets and so many reveals in this book. I remember just gasping out loud so many times. I cannot get over this book. Alice Feeney is my favorite thriller writer, I think, and I literally eat up her books every single time. They're so good. So I definitely recommend this book if you guys like thrillers. That is all 15 books, my favorite books that I read in 2024. We had a great reading year. Those are some super killer books. If you guys have read any of those, let me know your thoughts on them and if you guys also agree that they're 6-star books. I can't wait to see what books I read in 2025 that make it in my 6-star reads of 2025. But yeah, give this video a big thumbs up if you guys like book videos and subscribe to my channel because I have lots of fun videos coming soon and I'll see you guys next time when I post a new video. Bye guys!